Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. Julian here for another weekend episode, this one for week 18. Now, I'm a little bit under the weather, which is why I'm not recording in my normal studio, but the show must go on, guys, and definitely got a great weekend video for you guys. A shorter one than usual, because there's not a lot of teams playing this weekend, but I'm still going to do my best to tell you guys which guys you should be picking up to help you close out week 18 and take home that win. Before we get started, guys, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Most of you guys that watch the channel are still not subscribed, so consider doing so, and it would mean a lot to me. Let's jump into the content now, guys, and let's start with the schedule for this weekend. And as you can see, it's a relatively unbusy weekend with only one game on Friday night, 13 games Saturday, so a pretty busy Saturday, and then only 3 games on Sunday. So as I usually do with these videos, if you want a player that plays both Friday and Saturday this weekend, there's only one team that actually meets that criteria. That team is the Carolina Hurricanes. If you want to stream a player from that team, the best player to be streaming, if somehow they're available, is Seth Jarvis or Martin Necas. They're both about 72% rostered, so if you're in an 8-man league, there's a chance that they are available. Otherwise, they're definitely not available if you're in anything bigger than an 8-man league, and Teravainen becomes your best grab if he's available at only 37% rostered. Then Brady Shea at 67% rostered, playing PP2 for the most part and having some decent peripherals as well as points pretty frequently. Michael Bunting playing second line right now with Necas, which is pretty decent deployment, so I don't mind him as an ad. Jacob Slavin, someone who's had a pretty decent fantasy season overall, better than I was expecting, at least putting up points every now and then with some decent peripherals. So while it's not my favorite ad, there's definitely a floor there. But if you're adding Slavin, Jordan Staal, someone who's a great ad if you need face-off wins, and could put up some points for you as well as playing on the third line as a center. Dmitry Orlov at 8% roster hasn't looked too bad lately. He's not getting any power play time, but the peripherals are decent and he's putting up points every now and then. And finally, Jordan Martinook is playing on that third line with Jordan Staal and Seth Jarvis, and is a ad if you're desperate and in a super deep league and you just need someone to fill out those stat categories, like maybe a couple shots, couple hits, and if you're lucky, he'll put up a point. Remember, guys, the pickings are slim here since it's only one team. If you need someone that plays both Friday and Sunday, the only team that plays both Friday and Sunday is the Arizona Coyotes, and you guys already knew that because in my waiver wire video, I let you guys know that Arizona plays on all of the off nights this week, and they happen to be the only team playing both Friday and Sunday off nights. So who's the best player to be streaming from Arizona? It's Lawson Crouse. He gives you a pretty decent floor there. His ceiling hasn't been that high lately, but definitely if you need floor, Crouse is a good option. Nick Schmaltz probably has the highest ceiling here, although it hasn't been that high lately either, but he is playing on the top line with Clayton Keller. So definitely the opportunity is there. Nice top power play as well. Jason Zucker, I believe, has been elevated to the top power play, been putting up quite a bit more points than usual lately. Definitely don't mind him as an ad. Dylan Genther is also top power play, and he's looking pretty good up there. He's playing fourth line otherwise though, so his production really depends on that power play. Nick Bukestad is the second line center right now in Arizona, playing with Lawson Crouse. He hasn't looked too bad, hasn't been that great lately, but definitely not a terrible option there. Alex Kerfoot is your third line center in Arizona. He's been decent as well this year. Matthias Michelli is also playing on that second line with Lawson Crouse, which is a decent deployment for him, but he's been pretty cold lately. And finally, Jack McBain. I snuck him in here. He's only 2% rostered, and he's playing on the top line with both Keller and Schmaltz. And while that top line hasn't been doing that much 5-on-5, Jack McBain will still get you a pretty decent floor with hits and face-off wins if you do have that in your league. If you want a player that plays both Saturday and Sunday, once again, there's only one team that meets that criteria. That team is the LA Kings. The best player to be streaming, if he's available, is Trevor Moore. Has been fantastic all year. He's playing on the second line right now with Dano and Fiala. The deployment is good and definitely should put up some points if you stream him for this weekend. Quinton Byfield still playing on the top line and top power play in LA with Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe. It's a great deployment for him. He's definitely an excellent ad for this weekend if he's available. Philip Danault is the second line center, playing with Fiala and Moore, like I mentioned. Definitely a solid ad there as well. Matt Roy is a guy who gives you a pretty safe floor night in and night out with some pretty good peripherals. Sometimes gets PP2 time, but hasn't been getting that lately, so I wouldn't be reliant on that. Mikey Anderson's another guy who's had some pretty decent peripherals this year. Wouldn't really be relying on him for anything but peripherals. If he throws a point up for you, you'd be super lucky, but definitely the floor is not too bad there with Mikey Anderson. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's been pretty awful all year, but is still playing on the third line with Alex Laferriere. And then I would go Carl Grundstrom as the next best option. Again, guys, the pickings here are slim, but he's a fourth liner, but does tend to put up a pretty safe floor with hits at the very least, so he's not an awful option. And then Alex Laferriere is playing on that third line with Pierre-Luc Dubois, and he hasn't been awful. He's available in almost 100% of leagues, so if you're desperate, he's definitely someone you can throw a dart at. As far as goalie streamers on Sunday, there's not many options here. The guys that would be starting are pretty high rostered here. Jonathan Quick might start against the Islanders just because he's been playing better than Shesterkin as of late. So if he does get the start, I would wait till that start is confirmed before you add him. But if he does get that start, he would be my number one streamer here. And then either Riddick or Talbot, whoever ends up getting that start against Pittsburgh. Both guys are under 70% rostered now, so Talbot probably has been dropped in your league. Obviously hasn't been that great, but definitely could bounce back if he is the one that gets the start this weekend. Again, no defenseman section since I had defenseman listed in my normal section of the video, so no point making a defenseman only section for streamers. And now jumping into the categories league section of this video, and if you need shots on goal, number one guy to be streaming is Trevor Moore, and it's not even close. Shoots 3.3 times per game, so over a couple games that you'd be streaming him for, should get you about 6-7 shots, which is fantastic. Then Dylan Guenther shoots 2.2 times per game, so if you stream him for 2 games, it'll only get you about 4 shots. Then Lawson Krause 2.2 as well, Brady Shea 2.1, Jason Zucker, Barrett Hayton, Nick Schmaltz, Nick Bustad, all on the Coyotes, all also shoot 2.1 times per game on average. And then Alex Laferriere shoots 2 times per game on average. If you need blocks, the number one guy to be adding is Matt Roy. Blocks 2.3 times per game. So over 2 games should get you about 4 or 5 blocks, which isn't terrible. Mikey Anderson, 1.9 blocks per game. Brett Pesce, 1.7. And then after that, I'm going for guys who only play 1 game, like Alec Martinez and David Savard, because they're block machines, and they're probably better options than anybody you'd stream that gets less than 1.7 blocks per game anyway over 2 games. If you need hits, obviously the pickings are slim here as well. Liam O'Brien's your best option if he's actually playing. He's been benched a few games here, so if he's still being benched, I wouldn't risk it, but if he's played a couple games in a row, you might want to consider him. He hits 2.4 times per game. Otherwise, Andres Englund is a much safer option. Hits 2.3 times per game. Jack McBain 2.0. Carl Grundstrom 2.0 as well. Matt Dumbo 1.9. And then Lawson Krause 1.8. Again, the pickings are slim here and the options aren't really that great. If you need face-off wins though, the options are a lot better. Jordan Staal is your number one ad here, and he's available in 95% of leagues and wins 10 face-offs per game. So you stream him for those 2 games, he should win you about 20 face-offs, which is fantastic and definitely could win you that category. Nick Bustad 8.4. Dano 7.2, Barrett Hayton 6.5, Pierre-Luc Dubois 5.1, Jack Drury 4.8, Kerfoot 4.7, and Jesperi Kotkaniemi 4.7 as well. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed the content today, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Sorry for not recording in my normal studio, just trying to get healthy and try not to leave my apartment. So I appreciate your patience, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.